So we are online. So hello everyone and hope you're doing fine. And today's discussion is all about what is life. So sit down for a second and think within yourself, what is life? Some would come with an answer that it is just the present, not the past or the future. You have to live in the present, and that is the life. And some would say that finding out your consciousness, being in conscious is life. In a nutshell, I'll tell you what life really is. Life in Earth, specifically on Earth, is started 3.5 billion years ago, right? So what is life? It is a complex combination of proteins arranged in a very specific way. So how protein gets made up? Protein gets made up from amino acids, right? And how amino acids got made up from nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon, right? So these are the three ingredients of life: carbon, hydrogen, hydrocarbon, then nitrogen, which forms protein. And this protein has to be put up together by a layer called fat or cholesterol. So cholesterol is carbon, hydrogen, hydrocarbon, followed by oxygen, right? So these are the four ingredients of life. No matter what anyone tells you, this is life. Hydrocarbon, repeat after me, hydrocarbon mixed with nitrogen, which forms protein, hydrocarbon mixed with oxygen, which form fat, and that is about it. So when these protein form in a complex arrange themselves in a complex in a complex arrangement, it forms what we call as mitochondria. And if they arrange in a different arrangement, they call something called as DNA, right? So DNA itself stores what is the definition of that cell. So the entire information about the cell, how it is like, what it was before, how it is going to be, is everything is stored in a quantified manner in your DNA, right? In every cell. And how the cell produces energy, if you ask? Nice question. Because energy does not get created nor it can be destroyed, right? First law of thermodynamics. So in order to get life, you have to first form energy, and there is only one source of energy in entire solar system, that is sun. It is emitting sunlight in all radiation spectrums. So we are getting energy from sunlight, not we. The first cell, which is prokaryotic cell, it was 3.5 billion year ago. That contains some cells and some pigments called as chlorophyll 1. So these are the cell which captures sunlight and convert it into chemical energy, and later some other cell process it in form of glucose or starch, right? And now comes the higher level species which can reproduce by themselves. They came into existence by utilizing this stored chemical energy. So chlorophyll is the first life on earth which converts sunlight into usable chemical energy, and this usable chemical energy is consumed by other form of life into giving into something called as ATP. So ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So these are the energy currency of any living being, right? Which are dependent on primary cells. So the primary cells are those cells, primary living cells are the cells which forms chlorophyll, right? Which contains chlorophyll, which can convert sunlight into chemical energy and store them. And the secondary cells are those cells which consume these, consume this stored energy into their usable energy, right? So now when these cells are formed. The structure of cell is like cytoplasm is the middle layer which holds all the functional elements of the cell. The functional element of the cell includes your nucleus, which contains DNAs, and your mitochondria. Cytoplasm is the layer which holds it, and then cell membrane followed by. So this is a general cell type, but there could be multiple type of cell. So until 200,000 years ago, there was no human. There were no human on the world. So modern human era, starting from Homo erectus to all the way to Homo sapiens and resulting into modern humans, Neanderthal, Homo sapiens, modern human, right? So these modern human evolved nearly 200,000 years ago, right? And the modern civilization, the ancient Hindu, ancient Egyptian, ancient China, or ancient Greek culture, evolved just within 5,000 years from now. So, and the modern understanding of science just evolved 400 years ago, and the quantum physics, quantum understanding of the quantum world just got evolved 100 years ago, right? So you can understand why there is a lack of information around us, because the change is relatively very fast. Comparing the entire evolution of our species, right, and comparing the entire evolution of entire life, it is a very huge scale in terms of these years, right? 3.5 billion years is a huge number. So our brain is simply not a capable entity to comprehend the scales so massive in billions of years ago, right? So this is how the evolution is. Evolution doesn't happen in a few hundred years, a few centuries, a few thousand years. It happens in many thousand years, in millions of years of scale. So this is how life is like, right? So you have to understand what life is, and now you can argue about what is consciousness. So that for that to understand, we have already discussed in our first video, previous video. You can go ahead and watch that. But understanding what life is just a living cell. So you cannot say that you are not eating non-veg because you don't want living creature to die, because plant is also living creature. It also contains carbon, nitrogen. It also contains all those protein and living cells, right? So every second your immune system is killing all the living cells that are called microbial life, right, in order to survive, in order for this large multicellular creature to survive, right? It is killing very small microbial life form all the time. So you cannot say that you are not killing off any life form. You are constantly 24/7 killing, are on a mission to kill other life form in order to survive. And that is the goal of life, to survive. But there is another higher level of goal, higher purpose of life is to pass information to the next cell, right? So these are like the purpose of life that we already discussed in the previous videos. And this is like what is life? Life in a nutshell, in a cellular point of view, in a very quantum perspective. I'm just trying to give you this perspective that life is not what you feel it is. It is your consciousness, right? But life is not consciousness. Life is a combination of living cell. And the living cell is itself, it is a functional combination of, and a very complex combination of proteins. And that is about it. And that is actually the beauty of science and the beauty of nature, that something non-living, nitrogen and oxygen, carbon and hydrogen, separate them, these are non-living entities, but put them together in a very complex manner, soon they will start to perform actions, right? There are different kind of cells. Now talking about that, there could be neurons, neurocells, there could be osteocells, or we call as bones, or there could be myocells, or what we call as muscles, right? So when the neuron count is very low, relatively low, I'm talking about the scale of microbial life, so they can move, but they cannot do higher functioning, right? Increase the count 100,000 or even million, you get an insect which can move and which can actually think in a certain way, right? And do specialized tasks. Like a single ant cannot do a thing, but a series of ants can coordinate and can perform certain complex tasks, right? A single termite cannot build anything, but a combination of termites can actually build all their, you know, their a big termite house is what you call it, right? Or whatever it is. So increase it to few 100 million, now you get all the animals. So animal brain consists of 100 of millions of neurons, right? Now increase it to few billion or 100 of billions of neurons, you get a human. So a dog is confused that you are also dog, right? So dog thinks that he is an underdog and you are a top dog. But a monkey, he knows, especially a monkey, he knows very well that this is a dog and you are a human, and he is a monkey and he is not human or a dog. He is clear in that aspect. And us, the human, we have 100 million neurons, 100 billion neurons, right? And trillions of connections, trillions of synapses. So this gave us to reason higher purposes. This particular phenomenon result in processing power in exaflop, right? And we can think about higher purposes of life, higher level of consciousness, higher level of functionality in our brain. So in order to understand the entire brain functionality, we have done a separate video. You can go ahead and check it. And yeah, so it is all about the game of synapses and number of neurons. So life, it came in a complex arrangement of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen. And these complex arrangement further multiplies and further increase them in quantity and increase them in number of connection and all those things, you'll get a very complex being who is asking what is his purpose of life and what is life itself. So with that, I would like to actually conclude this video. Thanks for joining us. Wish you all the best, and until we meet for the next time, good day.